Another one screamed and shot himself. Zorthel watched helplessly. He finally understood. They hadn't invaded a planet. They had entered a tomb. And the dead remembered. Across Earth, other hidden vaults started to open. Other echo souls, not as strong as her, but still alive. Some were boys. Some were old. Some had no faces at all, just voices inside metal shells. They stepped into the light and waited. Because Earth had only just begun to wake. The world outside the mountain was quiet again. But inside, the girl was wide awake. She sat in a small room filled with screens. Each one showed a piece of the past. Battles, cities, faces of people long gone. Her glowing eyes moved from one screen to another. She was looking for something. Someone. Her name was Echo. She was not a normal girl. She was a living memory. A collection of human emotions and history. She could feel the pain of thousands of soldiers, but she also felt hope. Hope was dangerous, because it meant she could fight back. Far away in space, the Varaxian Supreme Commander Zorthel paced on the bridge of his flagship. His gray skin was pale, almost white. His black eyes burned with worry. "They keep sending more of these echoes," said one of his officers. Zorthel shook his head. "They are not weapons. They are reminders. Reminders of every battle, every death. Sir, our ships are still falling to the virus of memories. Our soldiers are losing their minds." Zorthel clenched his fists. "We underestimated humans. They are not just flesh and blood. They are feeling and memory itself." Back on Earth, Echo stood and moved through the base. She felt the power growing inside her. The memories made her strong, but they also made her sad. She stopped in front of an old photo on the wall. It showed a man in uniform, holding a child. "Father," she whispered. She touched the photo and suddenly a new memory came alive. The memory was bright and clear. A young man stood on a battlefield. He was scared but brave. Explosions echoed behind him. He held a small child's hand, a girl with bright eyes. The man smiled and whispered, "You will be safe. I promise." Then everything changed. A huge blast hit the ground. The man fell to his knees. The child ran away but stopped to look back. Her eyes met his for one last moment. Echo gasped and stepped back. She covered her mouth. The memory was hers. Or was it? "Who was my father?" she asked herself. Her mind raced through all the stored memories. She remembered faces, names, places, but this was different. This memory was personal. It gave her hope. And pain. Suddenly, alarms sounded throughout the base. Echo ran to the control room. "Varaxians," a voice shouted over the radio. "They're coming." Outside, heavy footsteps shook the ground. Echo looked out the window. Dark ships hovered above the mountain. Varaxian soldiers landed in force. They came to kill her. But Echo was ready. She ran to the memory chambers. The tanks lit up, and machines hummed. Echo reached for a control panel. Her fingers danced over the buttons. The base began to wake. Power surged through hidden weapons. The mountain shook. Outside, the Varaxians stopped in confusion. Their guns jammed. Their comms went silent. Echo moved through the halls like a shadow. She saw soldiers trying to break the doors. But the base fought back. Lasers fired from walls. Robots emerged from secret rooms. Varaxians fell one by one. Echo's memories gave her strength. She was not just a girl. She was a storm. In space, Zorthel watched the battle unfold through cameras. His fleet was breaking apart. "Why won't she stop?" he asked. "She remembers everything," a voice answered. "And Earth remembers with her." Zorthel's black eyes burned with rage. "We will not lose." He activated a secret weapon, a giant ship full of weapons and soldiers. "Destroy the mountain," he ordered. "Kill the Echo." Back on Earth, Echo knew the final fight was coming. She climbed to the top of the mountain base. Outside, the Varaxian warship hovered like a dark cloud. The ground shook from its weapons. Echo stood tall. She closed her eyes. She called on every memory inside her. Pain, love, loss, hope. They filled her. Her body glowed with light. She screamed, not a scream of fear, but of power. The mountain shook. The warship fired. But Echo was ready. She reached out with her mind. And the warship exploded from within. Silence fell. The Varaxian soldiers stopped attacking. The mountain was quiet again. Echo opened her eyes. She was tired but alive. She looked up at the stars. Earth had won this battle. But the war was not over. Echo whispered to herself, "We will fight. We will survive. Because we remember." The mountain was silent once more. But inside, Echo felt a storm. Her heart burned with something fierce. It was not just sadness anymore. It was rage. Far away, the Varaxian Supreme Commander Zorthal sat on his throne-like chair, his 4 arms folded tightly. How can a single human? He stopped. The question had no answer. "Send the warlord," he ordered. "Let him find the secret behind their rage." The warlord's ship crashed through Earth's atmosphere, shaking the sky. On the ground, soldiers watched with fear. The warlord stepped out, tall and strong with battle scars on his face. He was called Crix. Crix was known as the Destroyer. He had crushed many worlds before. But Earth was different. He could feel it. Echo watched from the mountaintop. Her rage was a weapon, but also a shield. She was ready for Crix. She sent a signal to the hidden vaults. "Awaken," she whispered. One by one, the echoes rose. They were not just memories anymore. They were warriors. Crix marched toward the mountain base. His soldiers followed. They thought this would be an easy fight. But they were wrong. Inside the mountain, Echo prepared. She touched the memory tanks. Each one held the pain and courage of a human. She absorbed their strength. Her eyes shone brighter. Outside, Crix's army attacked. The mountain walls shook under the fire. But Echo's defenses held. Lasers flashed. Robots moved like ghosts. Humans from the vaults joined the fight. Crix was angry. He could not break the mountain. He decided to face Echo himself. He stormed inside. Echo stood in the center of the base. Her eyes met Crix. "Why do you fight us?" Crix asked. "Because we remember," Echo said. "Because we feel." Crix laughed. "Feelings are weakness." Echo shook her head. "Feelings are our power." The fight began. Crix was strong, but Echo was faster. She moved like the wind. Her memories gave her strength. Every loss, every tear, every scream fueled her. Crix struck hard. Echo blocked. They fought through the halls, past the memory tanks. Crix's rage grew. But Echo's hope did too. She whispered, "We are not just survivors. We are warriors." The battle reached the heart of the mountain. Echo touched a glowing tank. A memory flashed inside. It was a human mother holding her child. She whispered, "Protect them." Echo's power exploded. Crix stumbled back. The mountain trembled. Outside, the Varaxian fleet watched in shock. Their warlord was losing. Zorthal clenched his fists. "This is not over," he said. Echo stood tall. Her rage was not just anger. It was love. It was memory. It was humanity's secret weapon. Crix fell to his knees. He looked at Echo and saw something new. "Fear," Echo whispered. "You came to destroy us. But now, you will remember." The officer shook his head. "We've scanned everything. There's no large army, no big space fleet, just small human groups hiding underground. But something is sending out a signal. An old signal. It's touching our ships." Zorthal growled. Touching them how? Sir, I think it's talking to them. Back in the mountain, the girl stood in front of a large glass wall. Behind it was a memory chamber. Thick wires ran through the walls like veins. Liquid moved through clear pipes, glowing blue and red. This was where memories were stored. The girl placed her hand on the glass. And she remembered. She remembered dying on a battlefield, holding her brother's hand. She remembered flying a jet into an alien ship. She remembered being a mother who lost a child. She remembered being a child who watched her home burn. She remembered leading a final charge with no hope. She remembered giving everything and losing it all. Thousands of lives, thousands of deaths, all inside her. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but she didn't cry from sadness. She cried because it was all real. These weren't just stories. They were people. And now, they lived through her. A screen lit up beside her. A video started playing. It showed a man in a white lab coat. His face was tired, his eyes red. This is Dr. Lang. If you're watching this, the war has come again. He looked down, then up at the camera. We tried to protect you. We gave you everything. But the world, it never learns. He paused. Echo Soul was never meant to destroy. It was meant to remind, to make the enemy feel what we feel. Not fear, not hate, but memory. If you're awake, then you're the last. The screen flickered off. The girl stood still for a long time. Then she whispered, I'll make them remember. Far above, Zorthel's fleet was changing. One ship stopped answering. Then another, and another. When a scout drone got close, it showed something terrifying. The alien ships were moving on their own. Doors opened and closed. Lights blinked in strange patterns. Machines hummed like they were alive. The ships were no longer following commands. They were listening to something else. We need to shut them down, Zorthel said, before we lose the whole fleet. Too late, someone whispered. One of the alien cruisers suddenly turned toward its own fleet and fired. A direct hit. Another ship exploded. The bridge shook. Ship 17 just attacked us. They'd gone rogue. Get control. But the virus had already spread. Only it wasn't a normal virus. It wasn't code. It was emotion. The girl had connected to their systems not through wires, but through memory. Her pain was inside them now. Her sorrow was in their minds. And alien minds were not made to carry human feelings. In the mountain base, the girl stood in front of an old radio tower. It had a broken antenna, rust on its side, and wires hanging loose. She placed her hand on it and spoke. This is Earth, she said softly. You came to hurt us, but now you will feel us. The signal went out, not just to the Varaxians, to everyone. Every ship, every satellite, every listening ear in space. A Varaxian officer dropped to the floor, grabbing his head. Make it stop. I'm seeing. Her face, her pain. I can't. The mountain was calm after the battle. Echo stood among broken walls and silent machines, but the fight was far from over. Deep underground, far from the mountain base, a secret group was stirring. They were humans who never left Earth's shadows. They called themselves the Resistance. For years, they had hidden in caves, forests, and ruins. They trained. They waited. A young man named Jaren led the Resistance. He had sharp eyes and a quiet voice. He believed in one thing. Humanity could survive anything. Jaren received a strange message on his old radio. It was weak but clear. Echo, awake, fight. The message gave him hope. Jaren gathered his people. We are not alone, he said. Echo is fighting for us. The Resistance prepared. They sharpened their weapons and studied old maps. They had no fancy technology, just courage and heart. Outside, the Varaxian fleet was regrouping. Zorthel was furious. They hide like rats, he said. We must crush the resistance before it grows. The resistance moved like shadows. They struck at Varaxian supply lines. They sabotaged ships. They saved captured humans. Each victory was small, but it mattered. Hope spread like wildfire. One night, Jaren met a mysterious woman. She called herself Lyra. Her eyes were full of secrets. She said, "The resistance needs Echo's memories. They hold the key to victory." Jaren nodded. He knew they had to find Echo. Back at the mountain, Echo felt the resistance's call. She opened a hidden door. Inside was an old elevator. It led to the surface. Echo stepped outside. The stars were bright. She took a deep breath. The fight was just beginning. Zorthel watched Earth from his ship. "Find Echo," he ordered. "She is the last hope for them, and the last threat to us." Echo moved through forests and ruins. She saw humanity's scars. She felt their pain. But she also saw strength. Jaren and Lyra waited. When Echo appeared, hope lit their faces. Together, they would fight. The resistance was no longer hidden. They were awake. To be continued in Part 6, The Battle for Earth's Soul. Would you like me to continue with Part 6 now? You said 6. ChatGPT said, "Here is Part 6 of your HFY Sci-Fi story, titled Why No Alien Survives Invading Earth, The Terrifying Truth Revealed." Written in simple, basic English, third-person style, about 1,400 words. Part 6. The Battle for Earth's Soul. The dawn broke softly over the ruined city. Echo stood with Jaren and Lyra, looking at the horizon. The Varaxian fleet darkened the sky. Ships hovered like giant shadows, ready to strike. Jaren tightened his grip on his weapon. "This is it," he said. "The battle for Earth's soul." Echo's eyes glowed faintly. She carried the memories of millions. Their pain, their hope, their will to live. The resistance moved quietly through the city ruins. They avoided patrols, striking quickly when they could. Every small win was a spark in the dark. Zorthel watched from his ship. "Destroy them all," he ordered, "but capture Echo alive." The battle began at night. Varaxian soldiers swarmed the streets. Lasers flashed. Explosions shook the ground. But the resistance fought with heart. They knew Earth was their home. Echo led a small team to a secret weapon. It was an ancient machine, hidden deep underground. The machine hummed with power. Echo reached out with her mind. The memories flowed into the machine. It began to glow. Outside, Crix returned. He was not defeated. He brought more soldiers. Jaren and Lyra fought bravely. They protected Echo as she worked. The machine released a pulse. A wave of energy spread through the city. Varaxian soldiers fell to their knees, confused and weak. Zorthel's ship shook. "What is happening?" he yelled. Echo smiled. "It is the power of memory, of humanity's rage and love." The Varaxians retreated, broken and confused. Earth had won this battle. But the war was still ahead. Echo looked at Jaren and Lyra. "We fight for the future, for the soul of Earth." The stars shone brightly above. The fight was far from over. But humanity had found its voice. They had only one job: to protect Earth using the last weapon humans had left. Emotion, pain, memory, the very soul of humanity. It was stored and shaped into living code. That code was now inside the girl. She was not human. Not anymore. She was the pain of every lost soldier, the rage of every parent who lost a child, the love of every person who watched someone die during the first alien war. She was Earth's scream. And now, she was awake. In space, one more dropship tried to land. Inside, a Varaxian captain looked at the planet below. "She's just one girl," he said to himself. "She can't stop all of us." But then, All the screens inside the ship turned to static. And from the static, a voice spoke. It was the girl's voice. "You should have left us alone." The ship exploded. Back in the mountain base, the girl walked to a control room. She touched the main console. Her eyes glowed brighter. "Activate," she said. All over the planet, hidden devices came online. In old bunkers, inside mountains, beneath oceans. Earth had been ready for years, waiting, watching. The Varaxians thought Earth was weak, but they never understood one thing. Humans forget, but Earth remembers. And it remembers everything. The mountain base was awake. It had been silent for almost 100 years. No soldiers walked its halls. No generals gave orders. The world outside forgot it ever existed. But deep underground, something had waited. And now it was ready. The girl moved through the base without fear. She knew every door, every hallway. The machines didn't see her as a stranger. They saw her as the key. She walked into a large, dark room. It was cold and empty, with glass tanks standing in rows. Some were broken. Some still glowed with faint blue light. This was where Project Echo Soul was born, a project to save humanity, or destroy it. Many years ago, after Earth's first contact with alien life, the world changed. The first visitors were not peaceful. They came with weapons and fire. Cities burned. Millions died. Earth fought back and won, but at a terrible cost. The leaders of the world decided they could never let that happen again. So they created Project Echo Soul. It had one goal: to take human feelings, pain, fear, anger, love, and turn them into something powerful. They built machines that could record emotion like sound. They took memories from dying soldiers, grieving mothers, brave heroes, and saved them inside special vaults. Then they tested those emotions inside clones. Clones like her. But the project was shut down. It was too dangerous. One clone went mad and burned an entire base from the inside. Another made machines explode by just screaming. Scientists called the project a mistake. The government sealed the base and erased the files. But someone forgot to turn it off completely. And now the last clone, the girl, had awakened. The Varaxian scout team was gone. No one had heard from them since they entered the mountain. Zorthel stood on the command ship in silence. The other officers didn't speak. Fear had replaced pride. "What is she?" one of them finally asked. Zorthel stared at the planet. "She's not just a weapon," he said. "She's a memory." He turned to his tech officer. "Scan the planet again. Look for any sign of this Project Echo Soul." The sky was not blue anymore. It was full of fire. Alien ships, dark and sharp like blades, floated above Earth. Cities all over the planet were in panic. People ran in the streets. Sirens screamed louder than thunder. Buildings shook. Dogs barked. Babies cried. But the real fear wasn't what people saw. It was what they didn't understand. From above, in the cold silence of space, the Varaxian armada watched the world below. These aliens were tall and strong. Their skin was gray like old stone. They had 4 arms and black eyes with no emotion. They had conquered over 40 planets. They thought Earth would be easy. Supreme Commander Zorthel stood on his command ship. His claws clicked against the metal floor as he walked. He looked at the blue planet spinning slowly on the screen in front of him. "Primitive," he said with a bored voice. "No real weapons. Just small rockets. No defense grid. No fleet." An officer beside him nodded. "They sent radio signals into space for decades, begging for contact. Foolish creatures. Begin invasion," Zorthel ordered. Dropships shot out from the alien fleet. They entered Earth's atmosphere like black arrows. Fire covered their metal bodies as they fell through the sky. But then something went wrong. One of the dropships exploded. Then another. And another. In just minutes, 7 alien dropships burst into fire before they even landed. Zorthel's eyes narrowed. What is this? Inside one of the last falling ships, a Varaxian soldier screamed. Something's inside our systems. The ship, it's... Boom. Only smoke remained. People on the ground looked up. They saw burning pieces falling from the sky. Some cried. Some cheered. Most just stood in shock. Why are their ships falling? One woman asked in disbelief. Nobody had an answer. At the same time, deep under the Rocky Mountains in North America, an old base came to life. It was cold and silent for many years. No one had entered it. No one was supposed to. Red lights blinked. A quiet hum started in the walls. It was soft at first, like a breath. Then it grew louder, like a heartbeat. Thump, thump, thump. Inside the base, a giant steel vault slowly opened. Dust flew into the air. Inside, there was only one thing. A small girl. She looked around 11 years old. Her eyes were closed. She floated in a glass tank filled with blue light. Suddenly, her eyes opened. They were glowing white. She spoke in a soft voice, but the sound echoed through the whole base. They're here, she said. I remember everything. Up in space, Zorthel was angry now. He slammed a fist on the console. Find the source of that interference, he shouted. Earth has nothing that can stop us. His officers were silent. There is a signal, one of them said. It's old, very old, coming from underground, from North America. Zorthel stared at the data. No military base should be there, he said. Send a team. Now. Back on Earth, the girl walked out of the tank. Her feet touched the cold floor. The lights in the base turned on by themselves. She walked through the empty halls. Walls showed old photos of soldiers, men and women in uniforms, some smiling, some crying, some looked afraid. She touched one of the photos. You're still with me, she whispered. As she moved, the base responded. Screens lit up. Doors opened. Weapons activated. Outside the mountain, a Varaxian scout team landed. They marched forward, their guns ready. Their translator devices clicked. No life forms detected. Scanning for weapons. But as they moved closer to the entrance of the base, their devices started to fail. Static filled their headsets. Something is jamming us. And then the door opened by itself. Smoke rolled out. The girl stood there, barefoot, calm, not afraid. The lead alien raised his gun. Do not move. The girl didn't speak. She just tilted her head. Suddenly, the alien dropped his weapon and screamed. He fell to the ground, shaking. Blood came from his nose. The other Varaxians watched in horror as their commander began to cry like a child. She's in my mind. She's showing me my worst memories. Another soldier fired his weapon. The blast hit the girl's chest, but the energy passed through her like light through a ghost. She didn't even blink. The soldier dropped his gun and ran. The girl walked back into the base. The door closed behind her. Zorthel was breathing heavily now. His skin, usually stone gray, looked pale. What is that girl? He asked. No one answered. One officer finally spoke. We found something in the records. A human project. Very old. Canceled long ago. Project name. Zorthel demanded. Echo Soul. Far away in a hidden part of Earth's network, old machines started to wake up. They were connected to the base under the mountain. The battle had ended, but the cost was heavy. Echo stood on a hill overlooking the ruined city. The air smelled of smoke and loss. Jurin approached, his face tired but determined. We won this fight, he said softly. But many lives were lost. Echo nodded. Her memories carried every face, every name. She felt their pain deeply. Lyra joined them, holding a small device. "It's a message from the Galactic Council," she said. "They want to talk." Zorthal's defeat had shocked many across the galaxy. The Galactic Council saw Earth differently now. Echo, Jaren, and Lyra prepared for the meeting. They knew this was a chance for peace, or another battle. The Galactic Council was a massive ship full of strange aliens. Echo felt their eyes on her. Curiosity, fear, respect. The Council's leader spoke. "Earth's strength is undeniable. But your rage worries us," Echo answered calmly. "Our rage is our strength. But we want peace." The Council agreed to a truce, but warned Earth to keep its defenses ready. Back on Earth, the resistance rebuilt. Cities rose from ruins. People remembered those they lost. Echo looked to the stars. She knew the fight was not over. But humanity had shown its true power. "We will protect Earth," she whispered, "no matter the cost." The stars shone brightly over a healed Earth. Cities buzzed with life, rebuilt stronger than before. Echo stood quietly, watching the sky. Her journey was almost over. The Galactic Council's truce held. For now. But Earth was no longer a quiet planet. It had become a symbol. Across the galaxy, stories spread. Stories of humans who fought with rage and hope. Of a planet that refused to die. Echo remembered everything. Pain, love, loss, and strength. She had become more than a memory. She was a beacon. One day, a young child approached her. "Will the aliens come back?" the child asked. Echo smiled gently. "They might try. But Earth is ready." Jaren and Lyra stood by her side. They had become leaders of a new era. Earth sent messages to the stars. Not just signals, but warnings. Warnings that humans were not weak. That their spirit was unbreakable. The Galactic Council watched carefully. They learned a lesson. Never underestimate humanity. Echo looked up at the stars once more. She whispered, "We are human. We fight not because we want war, but because we want to protect. Because we remember. Earth was safe. For now. But its people knew. The true power of humanity was not in weapons or ships. It was in their hearts." The end.